The prices for comics and collectibles are going through the roof. The market is hot. Is it time for you to sell your collection? Am I going to start to sell mine? We're going to talk about it. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to the 905, the channel where we talk about comics, collectibles, and whatever. My name is Rob. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe and the like button down below. Also hit the notification bells. New videos every Tuesday and Thursday. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back, and hopefully you are a subscriber to the channel. And if not, what are you waiting for? Hit that bell down below, and let's get into it. Okay, so as I said before in the intro, the comics market is going crazy right now as it pertains to the collectibles side of things. Namely, the CGC books, the ones that you see behind me, but even the ones that are raw. So I'm going to explain what those two differences are. But I just want to say this right off the bat. I am not a professional here, okay? So I seriously don't want you taking what I say, some goofball in Ontario, Canada, making videos in his basement and then applying it to what you're doing, and you're collecting, you're investing, and all of a sudden shit goes crazy. So that's, again, big disclaimer on the screen. I'm not a professional. You really probably shouldn't say take anything I say with any modicum of professionalism, because I'm just an idiot. But I'm going to share with you some ideas that I have had as I've been watching this market go up, unexpectedly so, and explain to you where I am and what I'm thinking about, and whether or not I'm going to be selling any of my collections. So we're going to get it right into it. So first of all, what is the difference between a slab and a raw book? Okay, if you're thinking, Rob, I'm not dumb, I know what the difference is. You know what? Just to be safe, just amuse me. Here's the difference. When we're talking about a slab or a graded book, obviously we're talking about like a CGC book. There's CBCS. I think there's PGX as well. But we're talking about a book that is encapsulated in a plastic housing. This is what a CGC book looks like. It has your the grading up above. It gives you a description of the book if there's anything of significance, if it's a key issue. So this is obviously Wolverine number 1 from 1988. It is the first Wolverine as Patch. Okay, so it gives you the information, and there you go. What's a raw book? Well, as it says, it's a book that's not encapsulated. It's not in a holder or a case. So for instance, my Uncanny X-Men 234. This is a raw book. So that's the difference between a graded book and a raw book. In case it comes up later in this conversation, you're not going to be wondering what the hell I'm talking about. So there we go. So currently right now, the comic and collectible market is going bananas. And a lot of this has to do with COVID. Now listen, I've said this before, there's a lot more smarter people than me that are online that could give you way more information as to why things are happening. All I know is that as a comic reader and as a guy who has some of these collectibles and these books that are graded, I've been kind of watching what's happening, and I'm quite surprised at how high these numbers are. And so it begs the question, is now the time to sell some of your collection? And I've kind of put it into 5 questions that you need to ask yourself, 5 bullet points for you to consider before you decide whether or not you want to pull the trigger and sell some or maybe even all of your collection. Let's start off with number 1 is, why do you want to sell? Why do you want to sell your collection? Now, is it just to make money? Because hey, that's cool. That's why a lot of people are like, you know what, I think I want to sell some of my stuff because I can make some serious coin. And if that's the reasoning, then great. Go right ahead. Is it because you want to take that money and invest it into a higher book? Also, perfectly fine if you want to reinvest. There are lots of people on this platform and on YouTube who have always said the hobby should fund itself. Obviously, you need that money to begin this hobby of collecting, but if you are looking to upgrade, if you are looking to get higher keys or bigger whales, if it's an omnibus that's out of print, but if you're looking to get keys and or even statues, you could sell some of those smaller statues to be able to purchase a bigger one, like a Sideshow or a Prime 1, and we are going to get into what the difference is in another video down the road, so don't worry. This is question number 1. Why is it you want to sell? Is it because you want to make money, or is it because you want to reinvest into the collection? That's the first thing you have to think about. Number 2, seller's remorse. This is an actual thing. We've all heard of buyer's remorse. You know, you go to the store, you got your your $100, you buy something, and then you get home, you're like, this is so cool. And then the next day, you're like, I don't really know. Or you're in the checkout line, and you're purchasing this big item, and you've got like those butterflies in your stomach, and you don't listen to your gut. That is a purchaser's remorse, or a buyer's remorse. But there is such a thing as a seller. Words are hard. There is such a thing as seller's remorse as well. It's that moment where you finally agree to sell one of your items, and all of a sudden you're like, what have I done? Oh my God, I can't believe it. You have to understand that once you sell it, unless you've got multiple copies of it, you're not going to, you could buy it back, but you're going to be buying it back at a higher price than what you have sold it for. So you have to be okay with letting go of part or all of your collection. And that's the reality. These are the things that you need to be able to talk to yourself about and make that decision. Am I okay selling some of these books? So seller's remorse. You have to know that if you are going to sell something, you have to be okay with it and move on. And again, you may have the opportunity to repurchase that book down the road, but you will be spending more money, in all likelihood, more money to repurchase that book in a few years' time, unless the market falls, and that's a whole other story. Okay, point number 3 is do your research. And I alluded to this earlier when I said there are some websites out there that will help you track your books. Recently, I came across a Facebook posting of an individual who was selling this Wolverine #1, the same one that I was showing you, this 9.8, for about $800 or so. And it intrigued me, and I was like, well, wait a minute, let me take a look. So do your research. There are a few websites that I go to take a look to see what the value of some of these comics are and what my collection could potentially be worth. There's Go Collect. Recently, I've been using CovrPrice. Both of these have a subscription based model. There is a free version as well. But if you want to dive deeper into the analytics of what the sales are, they will show you what the eBay sales were, the months, the day that they were sold, how much it went for. And again, please understand, these are in US dollars. So just remember that whether you're a purchaser or a seller, it's going to obviously be in Canadian dollars if you're in Canada. So these numbers that you're seeing on the screen are not always going to be reflective of Canadian dollars. It's US dollars. But do your research before you sell, and also before you buy. Okay, number 4 is an interesting one because it can kind of go either way. I have it as biding your time. And what that means is, yes, you saw what that Wolverine #1 is going for in Canada, roughly the $850 to $1,000 range. However, when Marvel introduces the X-Men to the MCU universe, that book is going to increase in value. You have to be okay. Are you willing to let it go now for the $1,000, or do you want to wait and hope that you can get maybe a bit more than that when the MCU happens? Again, it's a crapshoot. And let me say it once again, I am not a professional. It is a crapshoot. It's a gamble. We have to discuss the fact that COVID and this pandemic has turned a lot of people into investing in comics because they don't have anywhere else to put this money right now. Nobody's traveling, or nobody has been traveling. People have been doing some home renovations, but they want to invest in something, and this is what has driven up the market for comic books. So, do you sell now, or do you bide your time until to see what happens in the future with some of these properties? That is an answer only, a question only that you can answer, and what you feel in your gut is. It goes back to seller's remorse. Those two kind of tie in. If you sell this Wolverine #1 right now for $850, and then in 3 years Marvel announces the X-Men are coming to the universe and they've cast somebody as Wolverine, and then all of a sudden that book is now worth $2,000, are you going to be kicking yourself? Yeah, maybe, but you would never have known. However, they could announce it and the book can only go up to, say, $1,200, and you're like, well, whatever, it's not that big of a deal. I've had that $1,000 in my pocket for the last 2 years. So biding your time is a real thing. However, it's also a gamble. So you got to kind of figure and know, is now the okay time to pull the trigger, or should I wait? It's just something that you're going to have to factor in and consider. And number 5, and for me, this is really important. I can't stress this enough. Be okay with walking away. Sometimes when we get into this idea of selling your collection, you start to see the dollar signs, pun intended. But you start to see dollar signs and you start to think, oh my God, I can get all this money. And admittedly, we've probably already spent half of it, if not all of it, in our heads. As a seller, you also have to have your limit of how far you're going to go below what you're originally asking for. So if you want your book, if you think that the book, the fair market value or the fair value of the book is $850, and somebody you've got who's really interested in buying it wants it for $750, that might be way too low for you, even if you were hurting for the cash. Now, again, listen, I'm not a professional. I'm going to say it for the 900th time. If you really need that money because you have bills to pay, you know, then you have to be okay with that. That's number 2 point of seller's remorse doesn't matter anymore because you have more pressing matters that money needs to go to. I get that. That's fine. But if it's more of a hobby, it'd be nice to have that money in your pocket because you want to reinvest in it. You don't want to sell it for less than what you truly believe it's worth. Now, can you overprice your stuff? Of course you can. This is like anything. It's like putting a house on the market. You can overprice it hoping for a bidding war and it doesn't always come to fruition. So be fair with what you are going to sell it for, but be okay to walk away. If you're a purchaser, you have a top limit and you're not going to go above that. If you're a seller, you're not going to go below that limit. So you have to be okay with a decision, whichever side of the table you are on. Those are my 5 tips for something to consider about what it is that you want to do. Maybe you don't want to sell all of it. Maybe you want to keep a few of these things for your kids, or because you like having it displayed because it means something. There's sentimental value. And I guess that would be almost the 6 asterisks, the hidden point. The sentimental value. You know, it's very enticing to go ahead and want to sell a book because it's worth a lot. But if it has sentimental value, sometimes that is just priceless, and you should be keeping on, holding on to it, if that's what you choose to do, and be okay with that. So that's it. Those are my tips for you. Now, what am I going to do? Maybe you're asking, because I think I might have teased that at the beginning. I've been recording for so long, I don't remember. To be very honest with you, I would be okay with selling a lot of the collection that you see behind me, because as much as I enjoy seeing them and looking at them, I don't have, my sentimental value has changed to different things. So am I looking at selling these right now? Potentially. Some of them I'm going to wait. The Saga #1 that you see above me right here, you know, that is worth a pretty penny right now, but we know that Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples have got the second part of their saga coming out in the next couple of years. So that #1 book will probably increase. So for me, that's point number 4. I'm biding my time. I'm waiting for that book to increase in value. But I would be okay with it. I just haven't sold it any of it yet because I'm kind of lazy actually putting it together and selling it. So, but that's what I'm doing. What are you doing? Are you looking at selling your collection? Is it something that you're interested in doing because of this video, or that you've been looking at for a long time? Let me know what your thoughts are. If you like this video, I'd appreciate letting me know in the comments. If you don't like it, that's okay. You can tell me that I'm an idiot. So do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe down below. New videos are Tuesdays and Thursdays. I appreciate you watching. Until next time, stay safe. I realized that in the last few outros, all I've been doing has been eating things. So I decided today to not eat anything. And we're just going to have an uncomfortable pause as I sit here and wait for this to end.